Okay, so for those who would like to participate in the few questions that we have as live polls, you can go ahead and log into the Mentimeter. We will give it a try. And that will be in the chat, or you can go to menti.com and use the code at the top.
So do you have to put in a password and everything? I just wasn't willing to do all that.
No, you don't have a password. You simply, in the chat box, you'll see now there's a link that you can click on if you go to the chat. It won't require any password, or you can go to menti.com and go ahead and enter the code, which is not a password. It's just a code to access the meeting.
This is confusing.
Yeah. Very.
Well, like I said, if you're not able to access it, we'll, get responses to the questions, and then we'll have an opportunity to discuss in the open discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward here. And I wanted to start by touching on the design objectives.
Could I is there a way to make this a larger picture of the park? I have like a, 2x2 view.
Should be fairly large.
Nope. There you go. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Oop. So yeah, I wanted to touch on a few of the design objectives for the project. First and foremost, preserving all the heritage trees, which are defined as native trees or grove of trees designated by the Board of Supervisors, and or those that meet specific size requirements based on species. Our second,
Really? 4 trees are heritage trees in the whole
that's
park?
shocking.
well, there's 6 actually.
6, but still shocking.
So yeah, let me go ahead and.
That is silly.
And then the second goal really is to minimize the removal of all other trees, especially significant trees, which are defined as any tree with a 38-inch circumference at breast height, which is about a 12-inch diameter. And I think it's important to also acknowledge that this is a really great opportunity to improve the diversity and resiliency of the park's urban forest. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the conversation.
Baloney.
The county completed a comprehensive survey of the trees in the park in late 2021, conducted by an independent arborist, Davey Tree. And it includes the location of the trees. I'm going to go back one slide here. You can see that this diagram is showing in diagrammatic form the results of that survey. It included the species, the trunk size, the condition, the canopy size, critical root zones, and recommendations for priority maintenance based on the benefit of that maintenance. And so this survey, which is really comprehensive, will provide everyone with a solid baseline of data to inform our decision-making and recommendations as we develop the design. A few highlights from the survey are that in the park today, there are 787 existing trees, 6 that meet the heritage tree designation,
Only 6.
and 94.
That is ridiculous.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not buying this.
Well,
No. What's the definition of heritage tree?
The definition of a heritage tree based on the county ordinance.
I don't care. Well, what is the county
What
ordinance?
about, yeah.
Well, the county ordinance, and Dan, if you want to elaborate on this, or Hannah or Nicholas, is actually specific to species, and it sets certain size requirements for heritage designation based on the species. And
So for a valley oak, what is the heritage designation?
48 inches in diameter.
And you're saying there's only, well, they're not all valley oaks, I guess, but
no, valley oaks, yeah.
Yeah, well, consider
important thing here
how
is that
massive 48 inches is. The problem is with the county's heritage definition to begin with. Many of these trees that don't even meet the heritage specification were on this property before James Flood bought the property. They're part of, they're not listed in the historical, value of the park that talks about the adobe. Some of these trees predate the adobe.
Yes, understood.
In the baylands around Santa Clara Valley, And it was once vast, almost entirely oak woodland and savanna. And
Yeah.
it is almost all gone now. You have a little bit here in Flood
David, if I
Park.
may, I would.
You have
I
a
would
little
ask that you
bit in the San
David,
Jose
if I may,
Guadalupe Oak Grove.
with your
And
comments.
other than
Well,
that,
the
we
Q&A.
have wiped it all out. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So
Yeah.
hey, Chris, really quickly, Chris, I'm going to step in here. So we have a lot of information we'd like to present tonight, and there's a lot of people on this session that are interested in learning about the information that's being presented. But if we can't get through the information, I'm concerned that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to walk away with incomplete information. So I'd ask that we allow Chris to give his presentation, and then we can have the open dialogue after that. And then that way he can get through this information. He might be able to answer some of the questions that people have as he goes through. So if we might be able to let Chris get through the presentation, then we can have the conversation after. Thank you.
Thanks. So yes, the important thing here is that there are 394 significant trees. In addition to the 6 heritage trees, there's 53 different species within the park, with coast live oak being the most predominant at 248 trees. Other common species, as you can see on the right, in the breakdown of the different species, include coast redwood, bay laurel, valley oak, and Italian buckthorn. And the existing canopy coverage is around 80%. And so, we'll be considering species, age, and diversity as we develop the design, along with tree health and structure. Based on the survey, you can see here that about 31% are in good condition, about 46 in fair, 18 in poor, 1.9 in critical, and about 1% are actually designated as dead out of the 787. And so the report also includes a series of maintenance recommendations that focus on priorities for both health, but also public safety and improvement of habitat and ecological function. And so before we move on, I thought it would be nice to just take a moment, and for those who are able to access the Menti app, to go ahead and share why is Flood Park Urban Forest important to you.
Oh, I can't share it, so I don't know.
Oh,
How can we share if we're not using the Menti? Can we write into the chat? Because I don't want to use
Yeah,
the
that's fine. If you want to write into the chat, that's absolutely fine, rather than joining the Menti.
okay.
I've lost the main view of this. I don't know how to get back to the chat. All I see is the participants.
Yeah.
Does anyone tell anyone?
Are you on your phone or a computer? You should be able to go back.
She's right there. Can you see her? I can.
I'm here and I can see all the people. I just can't see the presentation itself. Somehow I've lost the main the main view of this.
I lost the ability to input my comments about Flood Park.
So let me see if I can find it.
Go to the chat.
I can't.
Pardon? I see the chat. I see a screen with Mentimeter on it.
I'm just gonna relaunch it and see if that works.
Okay. See a lot of connection with the park here. Obviously, folks who live close by and grew up in the area.
Yes.
All the things that we love about a park like Flood Park, with the habitat, the history, the fact that it's, you know, a remnant of the historical landscape, all these amazing things that people connect with there. In this exhibit, I'm going to go ahead and move forward so we can get to our discussion. In this exhibit, you can see the trees outlined in red that may need to be removed in order to.
No, I can't see that.
You're
I'm
not.
sorry, I can't see that. And that's why I'm here.
The rest of us can see it, so maybe there's an issue on your side.
Yeah, I apologize that you're having
Oh,
issues.
I'm at a
Is
laptop.
everyone else okay?
Oh, wait.
Click on the Zoom symbol again, ma'am. It's at the bottom of
The
your
bottom.
computer screen. Just maximize it again. You've obviously closed the page.
Okay. No, I haven't.
Yeah, well,
Excuse me.
if you go to view and go to full screen, then it'll be expanded as large as it will go, and you will see lots of little red lines.
No, I can barely see them. No, it's still, it won't, I've done that twice, so.
We're gonna go
that's
ahead
a
and move
strange-
forward if we could.
Yeah, okay, just go on. I don't care.
Thank you. So yes, in this exhibit.
I wish I didn't see you. Can you go away? Because you're taking up my map.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
seriously. No, I'm serious. Can I just hear your voice, Christopher? Because
you should be able to change
you're
your.
eating my map.
You should be able to change your view so that you're only seeing the presentation view.
Okay, well, I'm trying.
Yeah, this is the great part of a virtual community meeting.
I know, I attend several Zooms. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
you're up at the park. Okay, you're gonna, all those things with a circle, you're gonna get rid of?
So this shows the
Oh my
trees
gosh.
that are outlined in red
Holy crap.
that may need to be removed in order to accommodate the athletic facilities that were included in the 2020 landscape plan. And
It's too
so the
much.
environmental impact report identified approximately 80 trees that may need to be removed. And
Jeez.
as I noted, our intention as we develop the design is to preserve as many trees as is feasible by refining the configuration of the proposed facilities and while maintaining the program and addressing other site constraints. And so as part of the design process, we'll be refining the design and looking at options for tree preservation along with the functionality of the park and aesthetics and other considerations. And so I'll just point out that, as you can see, there are a few significant trees that would need to be removed to accommodate the multi-use field. And there's a few smaller secondary trees that would need to be removed to renovate and relocate the tennis courts, a smaller significant tree and another tree for the volleyball courts. And then, of course, the main area, I think, of concern for everyone is the location of the smaller multi-use field. And so I just want to note that as we move through the process, we'll be looking for ways to reduce the number of trees that are removed. I anticipate that we'll be able to make some progress on that. And we'll be looking at options for how we configure the multi-use fields based on what we hear from the community and all of the discussions around the park, including the importance of the sports and recreational programs. So that's the overview for that. And, you know, we've really think about the overall goals. Obviously, preserving trees is first and foremost, but I do believe that this is an opportunity to improve the canopy health and its resilience by increasing biodiversity and habitat value and planning for climate change. These are all, I think, important considerations. And so with that, was going to ask if this group in a moment could take some time to rank these different goals. And if there are other goals, please note that in the ranking. And we'll be able to discuss those as part of the discussion.
Yeah, this system really is not a good system to get feedback because, your definition of improving climate resiliency, I disagree with. And in fact, dead trees, as long as they're not a safety hazard, are really important. Habitat for the acorn woodpeckers for their granary. And so,
We're not
to be
suggesting that
pigeonholed
we
into these
remove
kind
it.
of definitions is difficult. I'm not sure it would be meaningful.
Yeah, we're not suggesting that we're removing any dead trees. So, I mean, there is the question of safety, and that's a concern.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Good.
Can we have a discussion and comments now, or we shall?
Yes, let's go ahead and break it open to the discussion. And I would ask that everyone raise your hand if you would like to comment or ask a question, or put it in the chat. Yes.
I would like to, please. Hi, everybody. My name is Ziva Winbush. I enjoy Flood Park. We recently moved here. And what I've noticed is the green lush, and it's beautiful. As a person who have a general anxiety, this is a place where I can find relax and recharge from everything. Also, I'm sorry for the background, that's my little daughter. She loves the park. There is space for everything there, and we love the trees. There is a field there which is full with silly, cute ground squirrels. My question is, do you keep a track of the visitors? Are there enough visitors? Is it due to COVID? It seems very quiet and peaceful park, and with plenty of different fields. Athletics places in Redwood City are plenty, playgrounds are plenty. We honestly enjoy, my family absolutely enjoy the place as is. We don't need to cut. It seems like also the trees that you want to remove are exactly where the fields and the changes will happen or used to be proposed to happen.
Yeah.
Is it possible to preserve it as is? Is there any chance that this can stay as is, and just to be trimmed, or maybe farmers market ideas, concerts, something that in future will make everybody happy? Thank you so much.
The whole community process that has brought us to this moment was a way of addressing the needs of the community. Nicholas, I don't know if you want to respond.
Yeah, excuse me. So Chris is right. So we held a multi-year public process that led us to where we are today. And there's a lot of desire to have certain changes to the park. And there's a lot of proposals in this landscape plan that are not raising any controversy, right? And not to say that everyone is wanting every aspect of it, but we have to balance all the feedback we receive, including the information you just gave us. But when this is said and done, there will have to be some improvements to the park, just because a lot of the facilities right now are antiquated.
I see. But is there the necessity of another field when there is one that it's literally nobody's using? I mean, it's not maintained, and we like it even if it's not maintained, Is it possible not to build another field? Maybe just, I know through the years you came through a lot of decisions, but people move out, and some people like us just moved in last of May, and I've never seen such beauty, and the people who visit there seems like hikers and nature people that not everybody would enjoy a complete remodeling.
Almost out of time.
Yeah, so we're almost out of time here, and I expect that many of you, depending on your interest in the other topics and hearing about that, will likely want to stay on. And so I'm hopeful that we'll have more time and we can move through the content with fewer interruptions and have more time for discussion in this second session. So again, please feel free to stay here.
Honestly, we just spent like 25 minutes going through this, Chris, and obviously it's to your benefit to be leading this meeting because you're the one getting paid by these things when they go through. The rest of us has sat here very patiently and listened to you. We don't get a word out. You haven't said a whole lot about maintaining a lot of these trees. You're killing 80 trees, Chris.
That's not correct. We haven't determined how many.
That's what you said. So whether or not it's correct, I don't know, but that's what was circled.
I said that, yeah, that. Let's give everyone a moment to join in here. While others are coming in, I think we're pretty much there. Can I get a show of hands from the group here? How many people joined the first session that we participated in? Okay, seems like a fair majority. And so I think that what I would like to do here is to really go ahead and open the conversation up and be able to continue the conversation that we started. And if there's some additional information that we need to go back to for point of clarification, then I can bring up some of the documents that we were sharing. I do want to make sure that we use this opportunity to hear from you all. And so rather than going through the presentation, that's what we'll go ahead and do.
Christopher, for those of us new to the group, can you summarize where you left off or any key points?
Yes, absolutely. And so what we did is we provided an overview of the arborist survey that the county has completed in late 2021, documenting the existing condition of all of the trees in the park. We provided a quick overview of the 2020 landscape plan and how it relates to the existing trees, and the EIR in terms of potential removal of trees. And we noted that as we move through this design process, we will be looking for ways to really minimize the removal of trees while respecting the program that was developed as part of the previous process. So that's a quick overview of what we covered. And we can always go back to some of the exhibits as needed to discuss some of the items. So
I have to go, so I'm wondering if I can ask a quick question.
Please.
First, I want to say thank you for presenting the information. And I just am wondering how people first found out about this particular project or plan. I've lived here for 10 years. And I didn't hear anything about this flood park plan until about 6 months ago. So when you say the community is represented, the community interests are represented, I'm wondering who those people are that were contacted. Who is it that got to put their input in? Because I didn't hear anything about it. I didn't receive any mailing. I didn't receive any emails. I didn't receive any kind of notification. So I appreciate that you're considering what is continually being said as community input, but I'm just curious who actually is being represented here.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. Again, I'm Nicholas Calderon, Director of the San Mateo County Parks Department. And during our multi-year engagement process, we use methods including mailings to individuals who lived within 1,000, just over 1,000 feet of the park. So it sounds like, I think you said 2 miles. So it'd be outside of that. We also utilize social media accounts. We did have emails if you had signed up for updates, which wouldn't have been applicable to you. And we had e-newsletters, as well as worked with community-based organizations to disseminate information. So there were different methods that were utilized. I also believe that information was posted in the park itself.
Chris, I'm going to say something. I'm Chris Bodekar. I live over in North Fair Oaks, and I moved here in 1961. And I have lived in this area, actually over in the Menlo Oaks area, and I have been here a long time. And to see the tree canopies even talked about to being removed, especially with climate change right now, that should be the #1 priority to maintain. And my feeling is, instead of taking trees down, how about just maintaining them? There's got to be a different way, because we're experiencing this over in North Fair Oaks besides Flood Park. And by the way, the only way I found out about this at Flood Park was I signed a petition to keep it going. And that was on change.org. And there is a huge amount of people that are really concerned about the canopy is around here. We have a major problem. It's called climate change. But I just want to mention, if anybody has the opportunity, drive down Menlo Oaks and you will get a roller coaster ride with all of the oak trees that are growing down on both sides of the road. It is a wonderful canopy that I'm sure will disappear at some point. But there's got to be another way. Instead of knocking the trees down, we've got to save them right now. I never thought I'd be a tree hugger, but I am now. Thanks.
And Chris, thank you. Right, that's certainly the type of information and feedback we're looking to collect tonight. Chris, I jumped in. I was in a different breakout session and then moved back over here. Are you gonna just kind of bypass the presentation, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, before you joined, Nicholas, I took a kind of, showing of who attended the first session, and there was a good majority that rejoined. And I provided a quick overview of the content that we shared, but not the presentation. I thought it was just important to hear from people, considering that we didn't really have time to have a Q&A.
Okay.
Could I ask a question? I was not in that first part. Is there a link to the Q&A like was in the other breakout session that I could just go through those slides while everybody else is talking to inform myself?
Yes.
If you could put that in the chat for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that request.
I have just a quick question. There's been a lot of discussion about removing trees, and obviously there's concerns around that, but I haven't heard anything about potentially offsetting any trees that are lost with new planting of trees. We can grow new trees in the park, I'm sure, in lots of places. Has there been any thought put into that?
Yes, absolutely. And it's a requirement of the project that the trees that are removed be replaced at least a 1-to-1 ratio. But we certainly expect to far exceed that by planting new trees within the park. And that's work that we'll be doing as we develop the design to understand where they should go, what species they should be, etc.
Yeah, well, I would like to say something as well. I haven't coordinated this with other people, but they obviously are thinking some of the same things. One is, I'm pretty plugged into the environment and conservation activity in the county. I'm chair of the conservation committee of the Sequoia Audubon Society, and did not know a thing about this on social media or anything until just a few months ago. So clearly many of us have not been brought in, and the people that may have been brought in had special interests that don't coincide with what it sounds like the rest of us on this group have. And secondly, I'd like to comment on one of the earlier speakers in the previous breakout, when she pointed out that it's a peaceful place. We have very few parks that are undisturbed, and we're it's death by 1,000 cuts to these various habitats. And we have to think a lot about not changing to the detriment of these habitats, as opposed to what can we do to change things that won't be the better. I don't want to monopolize this, but the fact that we didn't know anything about this until just a couple of months ago, when some concerned people said, "Do you know about this?" and now we knew it. And so the fact that we missed all the previous discussions, I don't think the blame goes with us, unfortunately, but I appreciate this opportunity to have input. And unfortunately, I have a 7 o'clock meeting, so I'll have to leave it at a couple minutes before 7.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for those thoughts.
Chris, can I jump in for just a minute?
Please.
Thank you. Well, I live adjacent to the park, and when I first learned of the Plan 2020, walked out there, and I was just shocked to realize where the second multipurpose field along Bay Road was planned. And when I realized which trees and how big that size, which trees would be cut to create that big sized field. After a few weeks, my family and I decided we would just try to do something about it if we could. So I want to give a little background here for a second. We actually organized some meetings in the park, and I recognize some of the people on this screen that through various things like Nextdoor and other ways of contacting people, we had several information meetings in the park, and I started this petition on change.org that now has almost 3,000 signatures. When we talked to people, we found that not one, except one of my neighbors, but really not one single person that I talked to knew that the plan was to remove so many of the trees that we just considered would never be cut down to build something new there. So our group, we have a small group of people that have been organizing in a lot of ways, and there's a website that has alternative designs that we have one that we favor called Alternative A that shows a design of the big field along Bay Road moved over to adjacent to the multipurpose field. That's one alternative. We think that there's got to be a way to have the woodland stay intact and not cut down all those trees in the circle of picnic areas that people have been talking about as just this special place. It's been called the Heritage Grove for years because people think of those trees as heritage trees, regardless of what any official definition is. So that I think is the problematic area that people treasure that is now slated to have a lot of trees cut down. But I think we all would like to have both sports and the nature area, keep the woodland intact, and look at alternative sites for that ball field. The ball field, I know people want 2 ball fields, but we really want you to try to find a different site and look at these alternative sites, because this is a rare place, like people have been saying. It's a very unique place for us to be under the trees.
Chris, this is Carla.
Yes.
I'm seeing in the chat a number of people have raised hands and they feel like they're not having an opportunity.
Yes, let's go ahead and move on. And again, yeah, asking everyone to try and be concise if you have a question or a thought. I'll go ahead and go to Susan.
I just wanted to endorse what Alice said. And I represent the Sierra Club, Loma Prieta Chapter, Forest Protection Committee. And we oppose the current plan. We oppose cutting down 72 trees. Many of them, 22 of them, in the 1.7 acres make up the heart of Flood Park, which, as Alice said, are the heritage trees. And we urge the San Mateo County Park to relocate that soccer field and preserve the woodland. We favor alternate A that you can find on the website for floodpark.org. And we basically oppose the clear cutting that you're suggesting of the woodland.
Thank you. And we'll go ahead and move on to another participant, Julie Hartstein.
Hi, I'm going to share a very unpopular opinion. I'm really impressed with the plan as is, and that you've been able to preserve 92% of the trees and only cut 8%. And I am excited about this project moving forward. At the same time, I applaud Alice and the contingent of folks that want to preserve the trees. I think it's a valiant effort, but I think that we need to really look at what's best for the entire community. And we have a lot of families with kids that are excited to use the park. And I think, you know, I've been involved in the discussion since I think 2016, doing surveys, receiving emails from Carla and team. I think there was even like a Post-it note exercise. And it's terrible that the communication didn't flow out to everyone early enough, but I'm really excited to see this, you know, 6-7 year plus endeavor move forward.
Great, thanks for that. It looks like we're gonna, our session is coming to a close here. I'm gonna, Wendy, you're raising your hand. I'm gonna turn it over to you, but know that we may get pushed back to the group, the main group.
Got it. So I just want to know if there's any intent to look at the people who are interested in preserving the canopy, to look at those options, or whether you are all dead set to rip up the canopy and build more ballparks.
Wendy, if I can address that before we get cut off. Absolutely. That's what this process is all about, is engaging with the public and hearing what the public as a whole has to say and balancing those perspectives. And so we absolutely are willing to look at all of that.
Okay, because I'm a 20-year resident of Flood Park, and to me, it would be a huge loss and really a communal loss.
I appreciate you sharing that. And again, I appreciate everyone participating in this, because this is how we have a plan and a project that reflects the values of the community. Is people come out and they participate and they share. So thank you.
Looks like we might have a moment for one more.
Can I say one thing, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I just would like to say that the group that is hoping for protecting the woodland is not opposed to having a soccer field. And that's why we have come up with alternative A, which is just a relocation of the soccer field. And I would ask the lady who was on before to please go to floodpark.org/balance and look at the alternative field that we have suggested, because it's a perfectly, it's a full-size soccer field. It fits right up against the baseball field. It's completely separate from the baseball field, but it's not in the heart of the woodland. But it would allow, and it's over there, near the parking, and it's up with all the other sports. So we're not opposed to a soccer field. We just don't feel that the current location is appropriate for the park as a whole. And also there is a large community of people who also have rights in the park. And we prefer to have a part of the park available to people who consider nature as an important part of the park, not just sports.
Thank you, Nancy. I have, and I'm completely impressed again with the website and all of the wealth of information. I think my biggest concern is that this process started in 2015 and we're in 2022. And, we are just in our neighborhood, we're just very excited to try and push this project forward and not delay it any longer.
Well, it sounds like there's a process already established that's going to allow for more community
There is, and we will certainly, as Nicholas noted, be looking at alternatives as we refine the design and hear from the community. So,
hi, Chris. This is Chris Boddicker again.
Sorry, we have to return to the main group to go ahead and close the meeting out. My apologies again. I recognize how brief our session is here this evening. This was really intended to reinitiate the conversation with the community about the project, and please follow along and join our upcoming pop-up events and workshops.